In this video, we are going to learn how to create a mood board in Adobe Illustrator. So the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to show you a couple ways how to import your images into your document. So the first way is to go up to the top menu and go to File, and then we're going to go to Place. And I'm going to click Place. And so I've kind of organized my images. So I'll just start with my fabric images here. I'm going to my folder and I just selected them all by holding Shift and I'm hitting Place. And it's gonna like do it one at a time. I can just click. So that is one way to place images. Another way to place images is going through your Finder. And I'm going to choose my art and design images. I'm just selecting them and then I'm just dragging them and they all place at once. So it's not like 1, 2, 3. They should all just be there. And so I can kind of start to see all these images being placed into my document. So I'm going to keep doing that and then we'll talk about resizing the images. So I have all the images that I have downloaded placed into this document, and I'm probably not going to use all of these images in the end, but I want to kind of see them all together and kind of get an idea for which images are working well together. So obviously these pictures are way too big for the size of this document, so I want to resize them. So the first way is to transform them individually. So I'm just going to grab this image right here, and that is the only image that is selected. So you can scale this individually by going to the corner of the image and you see these little double arrows pop up. And then if you hold Shift down and kind of move your mouse inward, it will scale it in. If you don't hold Shift, it won't be proportional, and you want to keep it proportional. So that's just one way to scale an image. But since we have all these here at once, we can kind of do them all together. So I'm going to select all these images. I'm just dragging my mouse across all of them, and it looks a little chaotic right now, and that's all right. So I have them all selected, except for the one that I already resized, and I'm going to do a right click. And I'm going to go to Transform, and I'm going to click Scale. And I'm going to put in like 50%. That's kind of what was already there, and I think 50% is a good amount to scale. I can do this again, or I can mess with them individually. And so I'm going to click OK. And now they're all kind of smaller and more manageable for this kind of workspace. So the next thing I'm going to do is start kind of distributing out these images so I can kind of just look at them all at once. Okay, so I just spent a minute kind of distributing all my images outside of my artboard, and there are a few images that are inside the artboard, but they're all in the workspace and I can kind of see them all at once and get an idea for what I think is working together. Since these are my fabric swatches, I think I'm going to kind of choose my images based on these swatches. I feel like I could make several different mood boards with these images with slightly different vibes, but we'll just see what happens with my selection this time. Okay, so I'm going to start with these swatch images, and I'm going to get these a little smaller. So I just selected them all and I'm just going to scale them all down together. So that's another thing you can do. You can scale them all at once if you hold down Shift. And so that's like more manageable there. I think this is a great image that kind of works with this vibe. For runway images, I really like this one as well. And I think that this dress is super cool. It's getting, you know, these are all working really well together as far as style goes. I like this image for color, pattern, and kind of general vibe. So, you know, if I decide once I kind of make my selection that I need to look for some other images to fill in, that's perfectly fine. That is very normal. So I'm going to kind of delete all the ones that I'm not going to use, and I'm going to start arranging the ones I am going to try to fit into my mood board. Okay, so I've deleted the images that I don't think I'm going to use, and I have the images that I would like to make work for this mood board on my artboard here. If I hover over any of them, you can see that there's these like blue X's through them. This means that they aren't embedded in the document, which means they're not a part of the document. So having them embedded will make it so that when you export documents or move documents from computer to computer, the images are a part of this document. They're not referenced from the folder that we place them from. So I am going to select all these images, and I'm going to go up here in this control bar, and I'm going to click Embed. And now you see that there's no blue X through the images. So that is super important. Always embed your images. All right, so I'm going to pause this, and I'm going to do my clipping mask around these three people. Okay, so I have my three models in a clipping mask, and so I can kind of arrange them, you know, any way I want right now. So I can bring them to, you know, whatever way I want. But next, I think I want to mess with my fabric swatches. So I have these three swatches, and they're not exactly the same dimensions, and I kind of want to change that. So I am going to use the circle tool or the ellipse tool, and I'm going to create a circle. Let's 2 by 2. And let me fill that in. I'm going to use red so you can see it. And I'm going to place that over my first fabric swatch. Make sure it fits. Let me make sure this fits over here. And I'm not changing the shape of my circle. Okay, great. So now I'm going to create a clipping mask for each of these. So they're like masked inside this circle shape. And now they're all kind of the same. And I just kind of like things to be balanced like this. It kind of creates a cool effect. Okay, now that I have my clipping masks kind of out of the way, I'm going to start arranging things. So I like this art image, and I kind of want to see what it looks like in the background of them, and that's like pretty cool. But I don't want all this border stuff. So I'm going to use the mask to kind of crop it. So let me do that. And I'm already kind of feeling like I'm going to want more art images for this, but we'll just see how things go. All right. So let me mask those two together. And that brought the layer to the front. So now I'm going to right click, arrange, and I'm going to send it to the back. All right, cool. So that's like a pretty fun background. Although I'm kind of seeing that there's, you know, some space here that isn't cut out. And so I'll show you something a little more advanced right now in case you want this effect. So I'm just going to move this out of the way for now. I want to release my clipping mask. So object, clipping mask, and then release. Okay. So my shape is still here, and I'm going to fill that back in. And I want to kind of make little cutouts in this original shape. So I am going to change the opacity of this. So the opacity makes things transparent so I can kind of see what I want going on. All right, so I'm going to choose my pen tool, and I'm going to draw these little triangles. And I'll do it over here. Okay, cool. So now I have these shapes that I want to subtract from the original object. So I'm going to use the Pathfinder tool. So let me go to Pathfinder. So I have this minus front, and that just removes whatever is in the front, whatever shapes are in front of the other shapes. And I'm going to redo my clipping mask. So I'm selecting these two, the photo and the object, and I'm right click and I'm making a clipping mask. And so that looks kind of more like that, a little more realistic. And so when I kind of bring this behind, it really feels more like a background now. Okay, y'all, so I've spent a little bit of time doing my final selection of images and kind of rearranging things in a way that feels a little bit balanced. I'm sure I will do more arranging before this is all over because we still have more elements to add. So right now I want to show you how to make a color palette. So to create a color swatch, I'm going to go to the rectangle tool and I'm just going to create a little rectangle. I'm going to hold shift to make a square. So here I have like a little square color swatch. And then I want to multiply this or duplicate this. So I want to hold down Option and Shift and just drag it. Or I can select them both, click copy and paste. And I need one more. All right, so I've got my 5 swatches. I don't quite have enough room here. So I'm going to select them all and scale them down a little bit. And then I want them to kind of be distributed evenly in between them. So I'm going to show you another tool. So let me select them all. And up here we have these kind of align options that should show up. You can always go to Window, Align to bring this up as well. And the distribution options kind of look just as they seem. So I want some horizontal distribution, so the space in between is perfectly equal between all the items that are selected. And so now I have little swatches that I can use. There's a couple ways to fill in these swatches. The first way is to use the eyedropper tool, and that's going to be fine for this lesson, but eventually we're going to need to find Pantone. So before I get too deep into that, let's use the eyedropper tool. I'm taking a look, I'm seeing some common colors. There's like yellows and this yellowy orange. So maybe I'll eyedropper that. And then I'm clicking my selection tool and I'm going to click the next one. I think that there's going to be like a pink. I like this pink in this dress. So I'm going to select that. I also really like this like Kelly green that's happening. And there we go. I'm going to select that. What else do we have? I think more of like a burnt orange like in here. Let's see. That's pretty nice. Let's see if I can get another better selection. So you kind of can just click around and like take colors from your photos that you already have here. Maybe like one more color. You can always go with like something more neutral. All right, so I'm going to say that this is my color palette for now, and you can always make adjustments to it. So that's one way to find colors. Another way is to use the swatch libraries. So the swatch libraries are located in the swatches panel. You're going to click this little hamburger icon and you're going to go down and go to Open Swatch Library. In here you can see that there are a bunch of different options. These are like swatch colors that are already put together. So I am going to look for, maybe I'll go to nature and I'll go to flowers. All right, I have my fill selected. So I just changed that orange. Let's see if I can find like a similar peachy color in here. Maybe there's that. And this is cool because these colors are already kind of made to go with each other. And that's just kind of takes some of the guesswork out, and you might not always find, but I found colors that are pretty similar to what I originally had. That's another way to find swatches and create your color palette. So we have a few things left to do for the mood board. We can make our final arrangements. We want to add a frame around the mood board, and we can also add a title to the mood board. So I want to show you one more thing, another little trick about adding drop shadows. So I'm going to select my object here. I'm going to go to Effect, Stylize, and Drop Shadow. And here I can kind of mess with the offset, it's kind of where it's located and like how big the blur is. And so I'm going to do that, just kind of mess with that. Also, I can kind of change the color, like if I don't want it to be a really black shadow, I can kind of give it more of a different tint. I would recommend keeping with the black, but I just want to show you what you can do. So all of these have the same drop shadow effect now. Next, I think I want to add a text header. Up here in the T, which is 4 down from the left of the toolbar, you can also use the shortcut T, and you can create either a text box by clicking and dragging, or you can just click and it will start a text box for you. So I'm going to call this Psych Summer. You can adjust the size of your text. So if I double click, the text will highlight. You can go over to the character panel. It's in the properties right now. And you can increase the text size. You can increase the space. You can increase the space in between letters, which is the tracking. So maybe I want like more space. You can change your font. I'm going to go with Arial Black because I like how bold that is. You can also transform the size of the text just like you would a photo, but you'll want to hold down Shift to not distort your text. And then, of course, you can change the color of the text. And so I have a title right there. I think I want to add a drop shadow to this. So I'm going to go to Effects, Stylize, Drop Shadow. So one thing I want to show you is that how to create outlines for your text so that if someone else opens this file and they don't have the font, they won't need it. They'll be able to read the text. It makes the letters become objects, and then you can also do more effects once they're objects. So I'm going to show you how to do that real quick. So I'm selecting my text, and I'm going to go to Type, and I'm going to go to Create Outlines. And so now every single letter is its own object. They're all individual letters. So you can see I can get in double click, that gets in isolation mode, and I can kind of move them around. So maybe I want to do something cool like, stagger them. Like, make this look kind of, it's psychedelic. Let's make this look fun. And so I'm just double clicking to go into isolation mode, and then I'm double clicking to get out. Okay, so that's pretty fun right there. I can also add an outline to these, or a stroke, I guess. So I have my stroke selected over here, and I can add a stroke just like that. And I can go to the stroke panel and expand, see all the options to kind of make some changes. Now I have a title. It's a little more fun than just typing it out, but typing it out is fine too. Sometimes you want that clean look. So the final thing that is a requirement for the mood board is adding a frame. And so I am going to use the rectangle tool to add a frame, and I want it to be a stroke because I don't want it to be a filled rectangle. I want it to be a frame. So I'm going to draw this rectangle and have it aligned on the edges. And then I'm going to mess with my stroke and make it kind of bigger or smaller. Some of it's going outside the artboard, so let me select this and work on the alignment of the stroke. I'm going to align it to the inside, so it's all on the inside, and I can make adjustments to all this other stuff as needed. So let me save. Just Control S or File, Save, and you should be saving as you go because you never know what's going to happen with these computers. You don't want to lose your file. So now that I have my Illustrator file, I need to make a JPEG file. To create a JPEG file, I'm going to go to File up here in the top menu, and I'm going to go to Export, and I'm going to click Export As, and I'm going to click JPEG. And I want to use the artboard. That is very important. Click Use Artboard, and that will make sure that everything that is within the artboard is exported, but the things that are outside the artboard, like this stuff down here, is not. So I'm going to click Export, and RGB, we'll do 150 ppi, and I'm going to click OK. And now it's made that file. Here, I can open this JPEG, and there it is. There's my mood board. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions, and yeah, play around and have fun.